Christine. Welcome to Book Talk. Today we are discussing SABAA TAHIR's latest masterpiece, the third book in the Torch Against the Night series, A Reaper at the Gates. Big thanks to Penguin, who I'm working with this month, for sending me this gorgeous hardcover. If you haven't started this series yet, I mean, you probably have if you clicked on this video, since we're at book 3, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's a fantasy series. I have a book talk for An Ember in the Ashes. I have a book talk for A Torch Against the Night, so if we haven't talked about these first two yet, I'll leave links in the description to those videos. But today, of course, we're talking about Reaper. What can I say before we get into spoilers? Things get real! This was the toughest to read just because things have gotten so tense. This series is set to have 4 books, so this is right before the big finale, and things are hard. At the end of the book reminded me of how I felt watching the end of season 3 of Lost. Like, it was so good, but I was so emotionally drained because so much went down. All in all, I mean, not that the other 2 books are happy, but Reaper is by far the most grueling of the 3. I think Torch is my favorite in the series so far just because everything's just starting to fall. Like, we're setting up for the fall. And Reaper is the fall. And it is done so well. So, if you haven't read it yet, get on it. That's really all I can say. So, goodbye if you haven't read it yet. Go read it when you're done. Come back and we could discuss. Goodbye, non-spoilery folk. Goodbye. 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 Okay. Reaper. I've gotta say, it has been fascinating watching SABAA open up the mythology for this series. It's felt unlike any other fantasy series I've read. The first book felt so grounded in a way, and then they introduced the names of these random magical entities just in the background, just like it kind of isn't that big of a deal. It's just a thing in the world that really isn't the concentration of what's going on. And of course there were the augurs, but you're like, oh, okay. They're like the oracles in ancient times. The first book feels a lot like ancient Rome. In the second book, soul catches are a thing, and you're learning more about this night bringer who has all these weird powers, and people have different abilities after they've been touched by jinn. Stuff starts opening and you're like, whoa, what? Like, I heard you mention that, but whoa. And then in Reaper at the Gates, everything just starts to come together. You just start to see the whole history of this world. All those little pieces start to make so much more sense. And it was just such a surprise. You know, I never expected it to go in this direction based on where we started. We really get to know our core characters in this beautiful way so that once all this starts happening, you're so invested and you care so much. We really got to know our core 3 human champions chosen by the augurs. Okay, let's just talk about the jinn. So, future Christine, who doesn't remember what's going on and wants to start the 4th book. We start off with the Nightbringer. The first chapter of Reaper is the Nightbringer, and we're way back in the day before the scholars sealed the jinn up in a prison of trees, whatever happened there. You know, I don't need to get into specifics, but they took them and sealed them into a tree prison for thousands of years because they were threatened by the power that the jinn had. The jinn had all sorts of magic, and of course humans see things that are more powerful than them, and they're like, threat, prison must take power over them, because that's what humans do. So, we see the jinn, he's with his family. You see that the jinn, their whole thing is being kind of the gatekeeper between the living world and the world of the dead. Like, they pass people on. That's their duty, right? So when humans decide we need to banish the jinn and take their powers and all this shit, there's no one left to ferry the dead souls from one world to the next. So there's this backup of all these souls stuck in the human world that want to move on but can't move on because the jinns aren't around to do it. And so to fix this problem, they have the one soul catcher, Shaver, to do it. One person with these jinn abilities passing people on. And then Elias has to volunteer to take his place, and then Elias is the one person. And Elias doesn't really want this job, so he's not doing it right. So we get this intense backup of all the souls coming in, of all the people dying. Shaver's trying to teach him how to do it right, and Nightbringer comes, who's a jinn, the king jinn, and murders Shaver. So that Elias is gonna have an even harder time. He just wants Elias to fail so hard. He wants the world to burn. He's gonna bring back his people, but he also wants to see everyone die in a fiery pit of hell forever, trying to eliminate his people from the world. He can't just restore the balance and bring back the Jinn, he also needs to punish humanity. Now we learn in the beginning of the book that if Elias fails his job as soul catcher and doesn't move people on fast enough to the next land, they're gonna escape this forest. So we've got this whole soul catcher forest area where the ghosts are sealed in, but since there's so many, they're consciously pushing against the boundaries trying to escape because they're sick and tired of being in here. It's like if you went to the DMV and people just kept coming and coming and coming, and there were so many people in there and no one was helping you. They were just going very, very slowly. They just want to get out and they're angry and mad and they want to yell at things. Let's skip to the augurs. So I've been asking about the augurs forever, since the dawn of me reading this series. How do you become an augur? Where'd they get these powers? Who are they? And it turns out the augurs are the 9 scholars that got together to kill off / imprison the entire Jinn race. And Jinns are immortal, so they're not used to dying at all. They're like these angels who are there to like ferry you on. It's the Bonnie from Vampire Diaries. That's what the Jinn are. Now the scholars, these 9 scholars were the people that were like, they're not allowed to have that much power. We have to have that much power. If they have that much power, we have to have that much power, so we have to get rid of them. Exterminate! So one of these scholars started up a relationship with one of these Jinn, and this Jinn fell in love with him, and he was like, so how do I destroy all of Jinn kind? And the girl was like, oh my god, there's this star that holds all our powers, but if you break it and like harness its powers and all this stuff, you can trap us in trees. And that girl who was telling him all his secrets, who was also a Jinn, was actually Shaver, the soul catcher. And then she was betrayed by her lover, who was actually a scholar just trying to get information from her. And these 9 scholars took down the Jinn, harnessed their power so that they'd be immortal, and they'd have this oracle ability. And they have lived for thousands of years, and they are the augurs, okay? The augurs are the OG assholes who decided Jinn can't be here anymore. We want their powers, okay? Cain was the main man who took them down. So it turns out the marshals have been pleading to and taking advice from 9 crusty old scholar dudes all along. Sorry, not dudes. I think there's a woman in there too. There's definitely a lady. I once hypothesized that maybe that lady is Lia's mother. Turns out it's Cook, which I also thought about at one point, but dismissed because she didn't look like her, and Lia didn't recognize her because she looked so different. Lia's mother was captured and sent to Koth prison along with Lia's father and Lia's oldest sister, where they were all tortured by Karis, the commandant, who still roams free today. One day she threw the husband and the daughter into the cell with Lia's mother, Cook, and they were really messed up from being tortured because the commandant was using them to torture Lia's mother. So Lia's mother snapped both of their necks and murdered them, and she hasn't been the same since. Obviously. Lia finds all this out because she goes looking for Elias in the ghost forest, and the Jinn find her and they show her what happened. Blah, 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 blah. So much stuff happens in this book. Helene is broken when we start. She's just become the Bloodstrike. She's forgotten her identity as Helene. She's let herself become this death machine. She's flipped off her humanity switch. And it's really sad to see her like that, but it's understandable because she's recently been through an enormously traumatic event where she watched Marcus murder her entire family in front of her, and then Marcus left her one sister alive, married her so that he could use her as a token in his political games. So when Helene / Bloodstrike doesn't do what Marcus wants her to do, he in turn tortures her sister. She's kind of lost her will to rebel against him in any way, and she doesn't really come back to herself, come back to the Helene we know and love who cares about people, until she has this really scary near-death experience where the commandant tries to kill her. There's a lot of war in this book, and it kind of reminded me in a way of watching the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones, where there's a lot of names of a lot of different places, and I don't know them yet because they're so new. Their names just go in and out of my mind. So they were at war somewhere trying to take some city. Helene went out without her guard because she's like, I'll be fine, I'm fine. But she had just had to heal someone. She was very not fine, and she got attacked. This just brought her back to herself. It was a wake-up call, okay? She almost died because Karis tried to murder her. There wasn't much romance going on in this book, and the little that we got, I was so excited about, and then it was just taken away from us. So Helene is crushing on Albatross / Harper / he has 100 names. Elias Albatross's half-brother. Albatross is really great and super loyal and always there for her, and he rarely pushes the envelope to kind of force Helene to confront her feelings, because they both like each other. I think now at the end of the book, things are gonna be so different, because Helene was separated from her maskness, and I couldn't be more excited about it. The mask was exactly, what it sounds like. It was a mask. It enabled her to mask her humanity whenever she felt like it. It turned her into this robot person. They can be reckless murderers and kind of justify it because they're masked. And now she's taken off the mask. Why, you ask? The entire book, we're trying to find the last piece of the star before the Nightbringer does, because the Nightbringer's trying to bring back the Djinn. And to bring back the Djinn, he has to put together the star that there are 4 different pieces of that the scholars broke so that they can imprison the Djinn. He has 3 pieces, he's missing the last one, and Laya's like, oh my god, Helene must have the last one, and it must be her ring. And we focus on this ring the whole time. Helene keeps looking at it. Look, you can see it really clearly. On the cover, it's glowing. Like, she talks about it, the Nightbringer talks about it, Laya talks about it, everyone talks about it. Laya finally gets the chance to get this stupid ring, and she runs away with it, and we know that there's something wrong, because she's like, it doesn't feel like my armlet did. It doesn't feel like it. And I'm left thinking, the Nightbringer is stalking her and kissing her ass for months, so she must have it. What the hell could it be? And it turns out the augurs put that last piece in Helene's freaking mask. It was in her mask. It was attached to her face. She had to basically peel off her skin to give this up to the Nightbringer. And the Nightbringer is just like always there when she needs something, like, oh, let me help you with that. Oh, you need something? Let me show you how to do it. Oh my god, your sister was poisoned and her baby's dying? This is how you fix it. You can thank me later, okay? The piece of the star has to be given to him willingly with love. And when she peels it off, so desperate at the end, surrounded by Carcarans, whatever people were taking Antium, she's surrounded and she's trying to distract them long enough so that her sister and Harper can get away and be safe with the baby. Her sister had a baby and the baby is the heir to the Empire. Marcus is dead. Oh my god, I'm so glad Marcus is dead. I thought we were gonna get away with not killing him in this book, and I was like, no, bish, no. When she found him stabbing against the wall and she was like, oh, the urge to sing him back to health is so strong, I was like, don't you dare sing him back to health. But instead, she takes out her dagger, she kills him because Marcus is like, I want to die, I want to join my brother, keep my baby safe, and she does. What a great moment. Followed by a very emotional moment. I was just crying at the end for Helene. She's just been through so much shit, and her poor sister, and her sister's baby, and she's just always having to sing people back to health and losing all her health because she's singing them back to health. She's just alone at the end. She sent Albatross Harper off to save her sister, and she's surrounded. They haven't sent the signal that they're safe yet, and she's gonna die, and she doesn't know what to do, and she's so desperate. She remembers the Nightbringer and how he told her that she would come to a point where she'll need him, and he'll be all that she has, and so she calls him and says, I'll do anything, take whatever you want, help me. He says he wants a piece of her soul. A piece of her soul is in the mask because it joins with you. He makes her rip it off her face in exchange for helping her family, helping her sister be free. And she gives it to him, and he makes her be like, tell me why you're giving it to me. Say you're doing it with love. Say it! And then he takes it and just disappears. Just flies off on the freaking wind. I was so mad when he did that. You're just gonna leave her there. Bish! And then Laya and Cook come to the rescue, and Laya's like, I can't let her die. It's just the best scene. It was my favorite scene in the book, and it was so emotional. I was crying. And then Cook sacrifices herself so that they can get away, and she's a badass with a bow and arrow, and she has weird climbing powers. We really don't have a huge grasp on all the Djinn can do. They can kind of do anything. Like, they send Elias around to different physical places in the world. They teleport him to distract him from moving souls on from the soul-catching place. Whatever their little hearts desired, even when they're locked up in the plants, they find a way. Now Helene doesn't have a mask. She's just a regular person, and she's vulnerable. And I'm so excited about it. And I'm so excited to see this child and see her relationship with him now that she gave him so much. She kind of shaped him in Olivia's womb. I just love the story going on there. I'm very nervous for Laya. She's the only one who's not completely broken yet. Oh my god. When the Nightbringer was talking about how he sees his wife in Laya, and Laya brings out this part of him that he's tried to repress during this time, that was so cool and interesting. And in the end, he's like, I will break Laya of Sarah if it's the last thing I do. And he releases all the Djinn, and he's making the augurs just stand there and watch. And he's unleashed himself into this true form, and he's like this fire god. He's fire. I don't know. He's made of fire. He's just like a fire dude. And he's excited to burn down the earth and reshape it again with the Jinn back in their rightful place. So it's gonna be one hell of a book. It's gonna be tough. Oh, poor Elias in this book. This poor boy. He just wants to have a normal life. He runs away from the marshals because he doesn't want to be a killer. And then he's just trying to help this girl he loves find her brother. He ends up having to break him out of prison. And then he ends up dying, breaking him out of prison. And then this soul catcher is like, hey, if you don't want to die, maybe come with me. And instead you can ferry the dead from one world to the next for the rest of eternity. And he's like, well, I guess it's either death or this. I'll choose this. So he gets roped into being the soul catcher. And then it turns out when you're a soul catcher, you're not allowed to be human anymore. And if he wants the soul catcher magic to do his job right, he has to not care about any mortals anymore. He can't care about Helene, can't care about Laia. He basically has to flip his vampire switch. He ran away from what he's been trained for his entire life so he wouldn't have to flip this stupid switch. And he ends up being forced to do it anyway. He's in this forest all alone with all these stupid ghosts being mean to him. The Jinn are in there playing with his brain, and Arthur's in there being like, stop caring. I'm not gonna give you my magic unless you stop caring. And he's like, but I care so much. I just want to help people. Gosh. The struggle is real, and we know for the greater good, he has to stop caring, because if the ghosts escape, they just possess people and make the people kill each other, and it's not good. It's bad news bears. So eventually he gives in, and it's very sad, and now he's stuck under all these layers of Arthur. Arthur's like, you and me are one. You're not alone. I'm here with you. And now Arthur, I mean, I'm assuming he's a Jinn god or something. He's, I don't know, the head of the underrealm? Is he like the Hades of this world? He and Elias are one. But at the end, when they release the Jinn, I mean, the Jinn are here now to do the job, to ferry the souls. So basically, like, is Elias free from his contract? Because you don't really need him. You don't really need this mere mortal. You got a whole people where this is just their thing. This is what they do. So I'm hoping Elias will be set free, and we're gonna have a happy ending for him and Laia. And then also Harper and Helene can get married, and they'll all be one big happy family. That's what's going to happen. Hopefully. What else is going on? We had to leave Liar's brother behind. He's making swords for the resistance. Now it's like, well, who even cares about the resistance? The Jinn are coming to murder all of you. They want to commit human genocide. They're seething mad, okay? You chose the wrong people to imprison in trees for thousands of years. Now, I'm assuming they're also going to want to kill the marshals. Antium has been taken by the commandant, so we have to take that bitch down. We've been waiting to take that bitch down for years. I'm excited to see her go. Gosh, I don't know what's gonna happen to the Nightbringer, the King, the Fire. It's interesting that we call the Nightbringer when his actual true form is fire. So he kind of brings light, or maybe he brings hellfire, maybe he brings death and destruction because he's fire. I don't know, we'll see. I wonder if his wife is gonna come back, and if his wife is going to make him see that an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. Darling, you have to be the bigger person here. Be the bigger Jinn, okay? Forgive the people. Maybe slaughter the augurs, kill them, and then take your vengeance that way, because no one else really had a part in this. Everyone else has died. It's been thousands of years. These are just their poor little innocent ancestors who are just trying to live their lives. Yeah, it was a hard book. Like, I had a hard time getting through the end because it was just one sad thing after the next, and there was so much war, and it was just, it kept bringing our people down peg after peg after peg till they had like nothing left. But it's gonna be okay. Laia and Helene are a great team together, and Laia's gonna learn to use a bow. Oh my god, Helene's gonna train Laia. I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for my ships to sail. It's been too long. This book, we had one scene with Laia and Elias. Okay, one scene, and it got all hot and heavy, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, is this happening? This is happening. And then it stopped. And then it's like they didn't even remember. I mean, Laia didn't even remember. They made it so Laia didn't even remember. That's also when Helene was dying in the street and Elias appeared, and my heart. Man, it was an intense book. I'd love to hear your theories, your thoughts, your favorite parts. Again, my favorite scene was at the end when they saved Helene and when Helene took off her mask. Just such a fantastic climactic scene where everything we've been seeing and everything we've been hearing finally came together. My name's Christine. I make videos every Tuesday and other days too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!